Caitlyn's quitting. She's done with the W. She's packing for Europe. That's the chorus bouncing around your feed, the comment section echo chamber that never met a rumor it couldn't turn into a headline. Here's the reality you actually clicked for. No, Caitlin Clark isn't walking out on the WNBA, and the clearest window into what's really happening came straight from someone who would know, Sophie Cunningham, who just said the quiet part out loud and paid for it literally. On her own show, she laid out why this return is day by day, why the league is the toughest it's ever been, and why the conversation isn't just about an injury. It's about whether the W can sustain the very stars who made it explode. If you came for the full picture, you're in the right place. If you came for easy answers, buckle up, because we're going to test every assumption you brought in. Here's the headline you can trust in the first breath. Sophie said, point blank, that Caitlyn could be playing if it wasn't in the WNBA by now. Not because Caitlyn's soft, not because she's checked out, but because this league is a different animal. At this level, as Sophie put it, you can't just be good. You have to be on top of your game. She also made it painfully clear there isn't some secret timetable being hidden in a group chat. Her words were basically, I'm not holding anything back. I don't know. It's literally day by day. That's your click confirmation, your public sentiment. And here's your contrarian twist. The story isn't that Caitlyn's running away. The story is that the WNBA is finally so deep, so fast, so physical, that even a generational talent has to clear a higher bar just to step back on the floor. Quick proof? Sophie's not chasing clout. She's been fined thousands this season alone for telling uncomfortable truths about officiating and consistency. People stop talking when it hits the wallet. She hasn't. And here's what you're going to get in the next few minutes. Why the league's new standard is both the W's greatest strength and its biggest risk, how selective protection and inconsistent whistles warp the entire narrative around player health, why the blackout around updates fuels bad faith rumors, and what this all means for Caitlyn's next move and the league's next decade. We'll close the open loops, but I'm warning you now, some of them won't close the way you expect. Let's start where most fans feel the friction. Expectations versus reality. The expectation was simple. Caitlyn dominated college, so she should roll right back onto a WNBA court the second she can jog end to end. Reality? The W moved the goalposts. The speed is up. The spacing is tighter. The weakest link on every roster is still one of the best players you saw all year in March. Context. Imagine the first possession back from any injury in this league. The ball swings. One hard hedge becomes a trap. Hands are in every passing lane, and the first bump feels like a rugby scrum. That's not hyperbole. Players across the board have compared the contact to that exact sport. Application. If you rush that return, you're not just risk managing soreness. You're gambling with footwork timing, defensive reads, counter moves, and the microseconds where a shooter turns a half step of space into a made three. On a college court, against a zone that inflates your reads, maybe you can manage that at 80%. In the W, 80% gets you swallowed, scouted, and sent to the cold side of the rotation in a week. Framing. That's why Sophie's single sentence, she could play if it wasn't in the W, landed like a thunderclap. It's not an insult. It's a diagnosis. The league leveled up. The bar rose. The margin for error shrank. And the player who helped raise the tide now has to make sure the tide doesn't drown her. Now the sharper edge, because this is the part that turns a return timeline into a referendum on the league. Sophie has been fined for calling out officiating inconsistencies, including moments where, in her words, a star got every whistle. You literally couldn't touch her. That's not a subtweet. That's a flare shot into the night sky that everyone can see from the parking lot. Context. We all know how sports work when a league decides which faces it wants to protect. The game bends. The margins tilt. The same bump that's play on for one player becomes an automatic whistle for another. Application. If you're Caitlyn, already asked to carry a rating surge, a ticket sales boom, and a nightly documentary on every possession, you're walking into a paradox. You are the draw, but you aren't guaranteed the cushion. Some nights, it looks like a mosh pit with a scoreboard. Other nights, if the league's darlings are on the other side, you're playing tag and bubble wrap. That inconsistency doesn't just shift outcomes. It changes how players calibrate contact, which directly changes how a return from injury is planned. Framing. Fans can accept hard basketball. Fans can accept soft basketball. What erodes trust is unpredictable basketball, where the rulebook is a mood ring. And when the person saying it out loud keeps getting hit with fines, $500 here for a TikTok comment about refs, $1, 500 there for a podcast segment, undisclosed sanctions for naming the favoritism everyone sees. The message is unmistakable. The league can tolerate bruises. It's less comfortable with bruised narratives. Here comes the loop that keeps opening because no one inside is closing it. The information blackout. Sophie's specific line, "Don't ask me for a timetable, I don't have one," sounds like honesty, and it is. It also lands like a confession. In any other major league, if the top draw is out, you get regular, staged updates. A medical report. A progressing as expected boilerplate. A target week. Something. Here, day by day is the script. And every time you hear no update at this time, the rumor factory throws another log on the fire. Context. Fans aren't just fans anymore. They are amateur capologists, amateur trainers, and professional detectives. Give them silence, and they'll invent a plot. Application. That's how you end up with an algorithm full of Europe calling, thumbnails, and breathless breakdowns of the same slow-motion clip, as if you can MRI a knee from your couch. Framing. This is where the W misreads the moment. Protecting player privacy is noble. Protecting the product requires clarity. Right now, the lack of clarity is becoming the product. That's bad math for a league asking casuals to become diehards. Let's widen the lens to the money question the internet keeps poking. Is Europe really a softer landing and a bigger check? The source of that whisper is straightforward. Overseas, base pay often outstrips WNBA contracts, and the style, depending on league and club, can be less collision-heavy, with more structured recovery windows and, ironically, more transparent timetables. Context. That's why so many veterans split their year, not because they want double miles, but because the numbers demand it. Application. When Sophie says Caitlin could be playing if this weren't the W, she's not shoving her toward a flight. She's highlighting the mismatch between the W's physical tax and the financial upside for shouldering it. Framing. The W must win two battles at once, be the best basketball on earth and be the best place to have a basketball career. Dominating the first without improving the second is how you light the stage and watch the actors exit stage left. And yet, here's the tension that keeps me hooked. The WNBA's meteoric rise happened because players like Caitlin dragged the spotlight with them. Ratings up. Arenas sold out. Cultural relevance high. The expectation was that momentum alone would smooth over the bumps. The reality is that growth magnifies every seam. When everything escalates, the play, the contact, the scrutiny, you don't get to keep the old communications plan or the old whistle patterns. Context. Last year, a random Tuesday game could be a low-light stream with a sleepy crowd. This year, a random Tuesday is national discourse. Application. The league office has to recalibrate in real time, protect stars without coddling, officiate consistently without sterilizing the game, and communicate honestly without turning every update into panic bait. Framing. If that sounds impossible, welcome to major sports. The NBA learned it with last 2-minute reports and transparent injury designations. The NFL learned it, sometimes painfully, with concussion protocols and weekly status reports. The W is arriving at that same crossroads, and Sophie just put a blinking arrow on the sign that let's go back to the court for a second, because this is the part everyone pretends is simple, and it isn't. Game shape isn't just cardio. It's a symphony of footwork and fear management. Coming off an injury, you don't just ask, "Can I cut?" You ask, "Can I cut while being bumped twice while reading a stunt from the low man, while knowing if I kick to the wing and relocate, I might take a forearm to the chest that won't draw a whistle?" Context. In college, you can script your way into rhythm. First quarter dribble handoffs, one guarded get action, one clean pull-up to settle the pulse. In the W, your first clean look might come after 8 empty possessions and 3 hard falls. Application. If you're a franchise's public face, the calculus isn't "Can I go?" It's "Can I go and still be me?" Because if you come back at the wrong time and your numbers dip, the same voices inventing European itineraries will decide you were overrated all along.